Well, hello. Welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger. On Sunday, September 26, 2021. And autumn is truly upon us. We see good weather, sunny days less and less, and much more common here in Vancouver area. So that's rainy, dreary, cold weather that can be somewhat depressing. But for some people, myself included, weather like this has always been much more conducive to creativity. I can't even begin to tell you when I was a teenager and first started to experiment with writing poetry, how many of my back then really poorly attempted poems were written just in weather like this. It seemed like as soon as it got dark and wet and depressing, the creativity floodgate just opened up inside of me, and the, the really cheesy and corny rhymes and verses and poems just came pouring out of my head. I could probably write 100 of those things in one day back then. I don't really sit down and pen poetry much anymore. Most of my creativity energy nowadays go toward making videos, podcasts, and writing music. But somewhere on my computer, there's still a folder of the good and the bad poems from my younger years. Perhaps one day I will find a way to share some of them with you guys. Yesterday we had a really good day. We had our first Night Strike Self-Defense for the Blind reunion since the pandemic. We have not been able to meet and train together for about 2 years now, so it was a very refreshing thing. Everyone really enjoyed what we did, and we had a good time. We had really had a good time. It was not as structured as our normal workshops, but in some ways, I think that was the charm of it. It's a spontaneous, just a bit of a relaxed, friendly, partying atmosphere. And despite that, we still were able to train some really useful techniques. Now, whenever we come into the topic of training in martial art and self-defense, uh, there's a lot of things we think about. I mean, after all, why do we train self-defense? It's because we have a healthy fear of things that can happen to us. If someone attack us, if someone rob us, if the apocalypse does happen, uh, there's a lot of fear that make us want to spend money, spend time, spend energy, and work out really hard and get really tired just to learn how to protect ourselves a little bit better. And quite often, when you're training in martial art and self-defense, you're dealing with the subject of pain. And a lot of your training is learning how to ignore pain, how to put that pain aside, convert it to anger, and let you fight back harder, and all that stuff. So today I want to talk a little bit about the more negative part of what comes with our biological makeup, the pain and suffering and fear and sadness. Many people say to me, "This is Johnny. You're so brave. You're like Daredevil. You're like a man with no fear. You're like totally fearless." You're awesome. And I said, that just shows how much you don't know me. Because I totally have fear. Every time I go out and have to cross a street, every time I'm going to work, every time coming home from work, every time I have to trust my hearing rather than eyesight to get me across that busy street, busy intersection. I literally tremble inside as I walk across the street. I feel that tightness in my back. I feel that chatter in the back of my teeth. I'm tensing up, just getting ready for the sensation of being run over by a car. That is the literal truth. I fear every time, but the only difference is I do not let that fear stop me from doing things because I can't. Otherwise, I would be cowering at home, hiding under the bed for the rest of my life. But I definitely feel fear. When I walk into that uh, fighting ring, when I step onto the mat, I definitely feel the fear because I never know if the person is going to kick me, punch me, grab me, or do something very unpleasant. So there's always fear, but I learned to channel that fear into how to protect myself better, how to pay better attention to my surroundings. I remember many years ago, just as I first gotten into the field of counseling, I had a client, and this client was in a wheelchair. And I remember one time uh, during the course of our session, she mentioned that from her hip down, she has no uh, feeling or not much feeling at all. Uh, when she looks down, she can see her own legs. When she concentrates hard enough, she may even be able to make her own leg move. But there's very little feeling in the skin muscles there. And just to illustrate her point, she asked me uh, to bump her leg with my foot. We were sitting across the desk from each other. And so when I did, she asked me, "Did you do it?" Because she didn't feel a thing. And I thought, I even said that, I said, wow, that is, so there's no pain, eh? Like, if someone kicked you really hard on your leg, you wouldn't even feel it. And she said, no, I would maybe feel the impact. Uh, the rest of me would feel that, oh, something just knocked against my leg, but I wouldn't feel the pain. And I remember I was young. Okay, I was young and kind of dumb at the time. I said, you know, a lot of us martial artists would pay for that. Or that we would we train so hard to dull the pain. We kick all kind of stuff, we punch all kind of stuff to dull the pain. A lot of us would totally pay to not be able to feel it. I mean, imagine how badass we would be. And she said to me, she said, you have no idea, do you? I said, what do you mean? So she showed me on her lower leg, her shin, her calves, there were scars upon scars. Her whole lower leg. I had imagined maybe her upper leg too, but of course, we have to uh, keep things proper. Uh, but her lower leg, her ankle, her feet covered in scars, round scar, long scar, short scar, the skin almost leathery to the touch because it was so scarred up and damaged. And she said, these are from all the incidences when I scrape my leg against things like planters, brick walls. Uh, I drop a knife on myself when I'm cooking, or I burn my leg on the oven door. These are all the scars a result from I didn't feel any of it. My brain was still caught in that, wow, this would be so cool for martial art place. And I said, wow, you didn't feel any of these? Whoa, that is totally badass. I think at that point she got a little bit mad at me and she said, you still don't get it. Anytime I cut myself, I hurt myself, I burn myself, I don't feel it, so I don't make it stop. So if I didn't just look down and see that I was bleeding like crazy or that I was burning the hell out of myself, I could have died from any of these experiences without even knowing. I could have gotten infected because I didn't even know I got cut open. That's when it hit me, and my mind just sobered up right away and computed this information, and that light bulb went on in my head. I said, "Yeah, wow, yeah, she's right. She's right. Pain is important." I mean, a lot of people say pain is good, pain means you're still alive. But that is philosophical. That is very philosophical, right? I mean, a lot of people that are in pain, you can tell them that all day long. They wouldn't really, that wouldn't really comfort them. So the whole thing about pain is how you know you're still alive. That is philosophical. But this is something that is truly biological. This is science. Without pain, you would die. Because without pain, you wouldn't know when you got hurt. Because you wouldn't feel it. You probably wouldn't even care that you got hurt. And then you would just bleed and bleed, or you just keep on getting burned, and then you would get an infection, and then you would die. And you wouldn't even know why. So pain is super important in our biological makeup. Maybe sometimes when we are suffering through one form of pain or another, we say, "Oh my God, I wish I didn't feel this." But it's there for a reason. It's there to warn us. It's an advanced warning system that says, "Hey, something is wrong. Make it stop." As related to that, fear. A lot of us say, "Wow, I wish I wouldn't. I wish I wasn't such a scaredy cat. I wish I am not scared all the time." Fear is another thing that is a built-in security system, because without fear, we wouldn't know we should lock our door. Without fear, we wouldn't know that we should check before we cross the street. Without fear, we wouldn't know that we should dress warm before we go outside. Without fear, we wouldn't know that we should probably save some money and not spend everything we have all the time. It's the fear of what may go wrong, the fear of sudden certain death, the fear of injury, the fear of losing out that keep us going and reaching for better things, for more secure things. Sadness. This is what I came to understand relatively new in the last 2 or 3 years because I mentioned that I've lost friends. I lost some really good friends in the last 5, 10 years. In fact, one of my best friends, my mentor, just passed away earlier this year. Uh, And every time I feel this great sadness, and yes, there's part of me that say, I wish I don't feel this. But then I realize we don't come with anything that is not there for a reason. I'm not even being religious, I'm being scientific. Everything that is in us, everything that our body capable of. feeling, doing, acting, reacting to. There for a reason. Evolution made us this way for a reason. Right? Sadness is there because without sadness, we wouldn't cherish each other. Without sadness, we wouldn't know how devastating a loss is. Sadness was in our system, so biologically, we would say, oh, when someone dies, it makes me really, really sad. So I should do everything that is in my power to make that person not die. I should protect my friends. I should protect my family, so I wouldn't feel so sad when they're gone. Sadness is what kept us together as a community in those early days when we were trying to survive things like flood and storms and saber-toothed tiger, sorry, saber-toothed cat for my more biological, uh, specific people. Saber-toothed cat is what never a saber-toothed tiger. So we were out there. Uh, we were cavemen. We were trying to survive all these hostile element of the nature that nature was throwing at us. The only way for us to survive that was to work together. And sadness was in us, so we would know it's bad to lose somebody. It makes you feel bad when you lose somebody. So you try very hard to not lose somebody. That's how we as a human race were able to thrive and stay together in those dark primeval days. Greed has its own place too, because without greed, people sometimes, a lot of time, wouldn't try very hard. Greed is there to tell you, to make you want more, better things, reach for higher ground, go further places. So greed, in many ways, is a chief component in driving human civilization, in advancing our technology, advancing our medical field, because of that need to always want better and more. So you see, um, a lot of these negative things or something that emotion and feeling that we view as negative, they're there for very strong reason. And without any of them, we may not be where we are today. There's an old, very circular Chinese phrase that I uh, really enjoy, and I will share with you guys because it really rounds out what we say today, what we talk about today. This phrase goes, in terrible time, heroes are born, and these heroes make good times, and the good times make weak people. Weak people create terrible times, and then the circle can begin again. Terrible times make heroes. Hero make good times. Good times make weak people. Weak people create terrible times. And then the circle that go round and round again. I hope that this little bit of rambling on a rainy Sunday night have left you with some fruit for your thought. And I'll be back again tomorrow with Kitten for Music Monday. For now, have a good night.